Hello everybody, welcome to SuperProfs. My name is Neha Kaushik and I'm a qualified company secretary and I'm a faculty for various CS corporate law papers. First of all, I would like to congratulate you all and welcome you all in your professional journey and welcome you to the stage of CS pressure. The topic and the paper that I would be teaching you is Ethics, Governance and Sustainability. Just to give you a brief about this paper is basically divided into two parts. The first part is your ethics and governance, and the second part is sustainability. Talking about the weightage, ethics and governance is comprised of 70 marks, and sustainability is of 30 marks. Our today's topic of discussion would basically be confined to ethics. The starting of this paper, ethics. Now, just to give you a brief idea, what is ethics? What is ethics and what is the need of ethics? And how it has evolved in this present scenario up to an extent that plays a very dominant role in any business activity. Every business house is affected by the application of ethics. And yet, ethics are not regulated by any law. What are ethics? What is the need of ethics? Certain things will be discussed today. Now, ethics, if I just go by the general definition, what do you mean by ethics? What is ethics basically? Ethics is my consciousness. Ethics refers to my consciousness. Whenever I'm doing any activity, ranging from when I get up in the morning, whatever I do till I sleep, that is my code of conduct. And that my code of conduct is regulated by the ethics that I follow. These ethics must be evolved over a period of time. A person is not born with it. A person gets the ethics by its upbringing, by the society, by the parents, and they evolve over a period of time. How the person regulates itself in the society. What code of conduct it follows. Ethics is basically, if I summarize in general parlance, ethics is just the code of conduct an individual follows. The moral consciousness of mind, the inner consciousness is ethics. Whenever I am doing any activity, my consciousness tells me whether this act of mine is correct or not. That inner consciousness within me tells me whether I am doing the right thing or the wrong thing. This differentiation between right and wrong is done by my ethics. Ethics is nothing, my friends. Ethics is just the ability to judge what is wrong and what is right. Now, ethics must be different from different people. For example, some person would be having certain ethics which are not as per the ethics of some other people. If I am having my ideology, if I am having an intellect, then that intellect has introduced certain guidelines for me that I should conduct myself in a proper way, or I should conduct myself in such a way that it follows certain standards. What are those standards? What is that code of conduct? That code of conduct is the ethics that I follow. My inner consciousness is telling me before and after doing certain act that whether I have done something wrong, whether I have done something right. That inner consciousness is nothing but that is driven by my ethics. My core values, my value system. If I just talk about Sri Aurobindo, as rightly said, to be able to do the right thing in the right way in each case and in every moment, one must be in the right consciousness. As correctly said, if I am able to do the right thing in the right way and in each and every case, every moment, then following the right consciousness is my ethical behavior, is my ethical standard. But the thing which is to be taken into consideration here is what is this right thing? And what is the right way? Who will define what is right? And who will define what is the right way? For a certain group, I will just give an example to you. Euthanasia, for example. Certain countries oppose euthanasia, strictly prohibited euthanasia. Euthanasia is mercy killing. And certain countries are savvy with it. They don't have any problem in mercy killings, and euthanasia is permissible as per law in that country. There is a difference of opinion regarding one particular topic between two countries. It is because that the ethical value of one country permits euthanasia and the ethical value of another country doesn't permit euthanasia. It doesn't say that one country is correct or the other country is wrong. It is that the ethical standards or the ethical drive of one country is conducted in such a way that euthanasia is not permitted in that country. So who will define this right thing and who will define the right way? Basically, the society is formed by the people. It is nothing but the collection of people who constitute a society. This group of people, they have a generally socially accepted standard. What they have a socially accepted standard. Certain standards are accepted socially by certain groups, and certain standard is not accepted socially. Then this group, this society, this people, this collection of people defines certain things as correct and certain things as wrong. And this collection, this ideology of a particular human being becomes the ethics. And these ethics are bound to be followed by everyone. Now the issue under consideration is here that ethics are not regulated by any law. If you see, for example, if you see an old woman passing by the road, she is intending to cross the road, you help the lady cross the road. Are you obligated by any law in India to help the lady cross the road? No. But just seeing that old lady is unable to cross the road, you are uncontrollable. You became uncontrollable to help her. What is this? This is your ethical standard. This is your ethical drive. No law is regulating you, but again, you are doing certain good thing, and you are not getting anything in return. Even if, take another example. You are passing by the road and you see a 500 rupee note lying at the floor. At that moment, what do? You will try, there are two situations you will try. So in situation one, you might try to just act in such a way that this 500 rupees note belongs to me and you will pick it up. No one is watching you in this situation. And second situation is, still no one is watching, but you didn't pick up that note. Or you pick up that note and hand it over to the security. That someone else has lost his money, and if that person inquires, please give this money to that person. In both the situation, your ethical conduct, you are not being regulated by law, nor you are being seen by anybody, but still there is an ethical drive among you, that drive is driving you to do certain thing that might be right or that might be wrong. Now, who has defined that this whole activity is right and wrong? If you are picking up this 500 rupee note, if that's wrong, that wrong is defined by the society, the people who have constituted it. And if that picking of 500 rupees is right and giving it to the security, if that situation is right, that is again decided by the security, by the society only. So ethics evolve over a period of time. There is no straight guidelines as to ethics. Also, there is not a general and specific definition about ethics. If I talk about, there is no definition about ethics. Ethics basically but still some dictionaries and dictionary meanings are there for ethics. For example, the Collins dictionary gives the meaning of ethics as it is the general consciousness, it's the inner consciousness, it's the moral behavior, it is the code of conduct. This is the definition given by Collins. So we will just like to elaborate it further. Like, what are ethics anyway? if I just summarize my whole examples and whole idea of talking to you about ethics for so much long, what is the ethics? If I just want to summarize this all in 2-3 sentences, what is ethics? Ethics, first, it is my inner consciousness. It is my inner consciousness that is driving me to do something right and wrong. It is my moral values. The moral values which are given by my parents, which are given by my teacher, which I have perceived being in the society, which I have perceived by my friends, which I have been perceived by watching something or anything else, by being in the being in the society, but I have grown and evolved over a period of time. Though my moral values are my ethics, my belief system. Belief system. Just to give an example, we haven't seen Ram, nor we have seen Krishna, but still we have our belief in him. That is our belief system that is being told by us, by our parents. There are certain things that we believe. When we are doing something, that our conduct is not being seen by anyone. But at the same time, that is being watched and analyzed by one person, that is yourself. And yourself is telling you what you need to do right and what you need to do wrong. And also at the same time, if I do something wrong, that my belief system is telling me that if you do this wrong thing, then you will be punished, or you'll be facing consequences in the future. And if you'll do the right thing, then you'll be having positive consequences as well. So that is driven by my belief system. My belief system is nothing but it is driven by what I have been taught and what I have perceived being in the society by different groups of people, whether it's my parents, whether they are my friends, whether they are my teachers, or the list is endless. So summarizing ethics all together, ethics is nothing but it is the inner consciousness which tells me what is wrong and what is right, what I have to do and what I should not do, what is the code of conduct I should conduct myself in it, and the moral values which drive me to do something, and the belief system which I follow. The belief system which I follow before and after doing something. Now, this small, I would like to relate ethics to this story. The story is The Lady or the Tiger. You all must have read this story in the school books. But those of you who are not familiar with this story, I would like to summarize the story. And then we will relate how the story is related to ethics. In the story, what happens, it refers to a long time ago when there was semi-barbaric rule. And a man was brought for judgment. And he was having certain consequences over him that this man has stolen something or he is accused of something. So the way of judging the person to be guilty or to be innocent, there was a particular way that was followed. And the way was that person was put in the arena. That the king ordered the person to be in the arena, and he was given a choice between two doors. One door was having a lady, beautiful lady, and the other door was having a tiger. Now, if the person opens the door with the tiger, then he would be eaten up. This signifies that the person is guilty. That's why he has chosen his fate as per the God's command. And if he chose the gate with the beautiful lady, then he will be married to that lady, and it would be presumed that the man was innocent. Don't you think? Just suppose now this whole story summarized. The main point is that being the man guilty or innocent is decided upon the probability of the door he chooses. Now, how this whole story is related to ethics? Just presume for a second that the story is actually true. The scriptural story is true. Just presume for a second. Just think about that time when the fate of a person, whether he has committed a crime or not, was just dependent on the probability that he'll be opening a gate of the tiger or he'll be opening a gate of the beautiful lady. Though the ethical value of that system or that time permits this kind of judgment. the ethical value or the code of conduct of the people there. They have this kind of belief in them. Their belief system, their belief value was such that if the person is guilty, he will be choosing the door of the tiger, and if the person is innocent, he will be choosing the door with the lady. This is their ethical value, that ethical system. And taking the present scenario in content, where we have a specialized judiciary system, where they analyze the facts, the pros and cons, and all the situations related to a case before giving judgments. There's a huge difference between the two situations. How our present system, our present judiciary is driven by the ethical beliefs that we follow, the ethical code of conduct that we follow. In law also we have this national law of justice, audi altrum partem. That means you need to hear the other side, even if it's a clear-cut case, if open and shut case, and it is evident by the evidence is produced that the other person is guilty, but still the judge gives the other person a right, last right, to say something in his defense. Audi altrum partem. Nemo debet esse judex in propria suo causa. Another law of justice. No one shall be the judge of his own case. So what is this? These are the ethical values that had evolved during a period of time. So can we say, taking this story into context, that ethical values are not constant? I would like to summarize that our ethical values are just like an Android phone. It's just like an Android phone which software needs to be updated on as and when the need arises. Because if you just take into consideration, there was a time when our ethical system was driven by certain rules and regulations, certain ideology of the people who has framed it. Because again, we are living in a society which is formed by the people who had constituted the society. And at the same time, we need to follow the rules and regulations and the code of conduct that the society has given, or the ideology of the group of people who have constituted the society. As and when there is a need arises, then this society gap needs to be filled. Then there's what we call the so-called generation gap that needs to be filled. And these ethical values keep on changing. For example, bullfighting is totally allowed in certain countries. Bullfighting is totally allowed in certain countries, but in certain countries where bulls are worshipped, then in that country, then it is just like cruelty on animals, and that in that country bullfighting and animal fighting is not allowed. Another case, it is an example of different countries. Just talk about our country at the present scenario. The beef ban. The latest beef ban which has taken place. For certain people, certain set of people, certain sections of the society, consuming beef is totally okay. But for certain people, it is a national animal. It is a animal of national importance, and beef should be banned, and it should not be consumed by humans. So what is it? One set of group has their own ethical values, and the other set of group has their own ethical values. Ethics are basically, to be concluding, ethics is basically driven by, they are people driven. It is a people driven concept which keeps on changing. They are not constant. Though yet there are certain ethics that we should not steal, we should not be jealous, we should be helping towards each other, but there are certain ethics which evolve over a period of time. So this was the brief about ethics. If I just talk about that, what is the ethics? Now, if we just talk about what is the need for ethics in business? Why ethics is playing a dominant role in business activities nowadays? Now see, as there was the liberalization policy which took place in 1991, though ethics has gained momentum all over the world in the past few decades, but in India, when the liberalization policy globalization policy was adopted by Dr. Manmohan Singh in the year 1991. At that moment of time, the level playing field of all the corporates changed. Previously, we were just competing in the domestic area, but as and when the new players, the international market came in, then we were competing with the national in the international market. At that moment of time, it became very, very prominent and very important that we needed to project ourselves in a very strong way. Because a company that is ethically correct, a company that is ethically inclined, had a good ethical code of conduct, that company is preferred over the others. We can take a lot of examples. I was just looking through the Forbes list for best ethical businesses in India. So from India, also there were Tata Services Limited, and Tatas were in the list. So basically, this is the ethical standard what we are following. What is the need of ethics? Why this need of ethics has arisen? See, any business corporate, how do a business corporate conducts itself? It is nothing, but it is conducting itself in such a way that it is using the society. It is taking the resources from the society. It is taking the human resource from the society. It is taking everything that is coming to the theme of production is taken by the society, by the business. So it is just an unspoken, unwritten rule in general parlance that whatever the business is taking from the society, it becomes an obligation of the business as well to give something to the society in return. It is now one question that has arisen in my mind in this situation is, if we are so ethically and socially driven, if we are so well ethically driven, what is the need of making laws? If we are so ethically driven that we follow certain situations, we know what is wrong and what is right, and we know how to conduct ourselves in such a proper way, then what is the need of business? What is the need of laws and rules and regulations? Why the legislature is required to make laws when we can conduct ourselves in an ethical way? And we are among those democracies who have the largest legislature. Our constitution is one of the lengthiest and voluminous legislature of all times in the world. And still, there are so many crimes and so many bad activities, so many wrongs are taking place on a daily basis. If we are so well ethically maintained and ethically conducted, then what is the reason? Why do we need laws to regulate ourselves? That means there is certain problem with the ethical system that we follow. At the same moment of time, we have other countries who have unwritten constitution. For example, UK doesn't have its constitution written. They have an oral constitution. But yet see the implementation and the gist to follow the law. See, ethics is a part of science. You can just say it is that part of the society which is not regulated by any law. Ethics are not regulated by any law. As I've given a clear example in the beginning as well, that when a lady is crossing a road and you are helping that lady to cross a road, you are not obligated by law to help that lady. But the inner consciousness within you is telling you to help the lady in need. You are not being regulated by any law at that moment of time. Ethics is basically when you have a gist to do something, when you have the gist to do correct thing, then you are said to be ethically correct. In general parlance, there's an 10-80-10 theory which I always discuss with my students. 10 people are born honest. They will always do the right thing and in the right way, and you don't need to regulate them much. And 10 people are born dishonest. You can do whatever you can. You can make n number of laws to regulate the conduct of these people, but they will find n number of solutions to it, and they will do the wrong. And these 80 people who are left are opportunists. They are waiting just for the opportunity, and when they get the opportunity, they flip and flop both the sides. In this kind of scenario, why ethics is needed in the business? What is the need of ethics in business? See, when we are doing business, we are taking the resources from the society. So we are obligated towards the society. In a business, there is not only the shareholders who are associated. There are not only the shareholders who are associated. There is a concept of stakeholders. They might be the debtor, they might be the creditor, they might be the employees, they might be the government. Just to elaborate by a simple example, what Satyam scam did in the year 2008 to the economy, it has not only committed a scam which is violating the rights of the shareholder. It has affected the debtors, it has affected the creditors, it has affected the people who are associated with the company, the employees, the suppliers, the distributors. Everybody was affected. The government was affected, and it has also hampered our global image. Whenever some scams happen, it gives a message to the entire world that this country is conducted in such an unethical manner that people in this country commit such hideous crimes. They manipulate the funds because automatically all this money generation, where does money come from? This is the taxpayers' money. Either it's the taxpayers' money or the house savings of the household. These get into the stream of production, and it is used by the corporates in production activity, in producing and giving profits. When any scams took place, it hampers the image globally of the country, not only a single company, but the industry as a whole, and the country on a global level. All the people who are associated with the business are affected, and then they are affected in a very adverse manner. In that kind of situation, the need of ethics arises. Business ethics is nothing but conducting the business in an ethical way in which the code of conduct of all the people who are working in an organization is followed in such a manner that it protects the interests of the society rather than hampering the interests of the society. When we have a lot of people involved, just try to relate it with law as well. Just take an example of Companies Act. What happens in Companies Act? We can see there are a number of provisions. There are a number of provisions in Companies Act which are applicable to all the companies, whether public or private. But the private companies are always given certain exemptions, certain special preference or special treatment, you can say, is given to the private company. Why? They are not very lovable to the government, no. But private companies, you can just see the funds involved in the private company are of the private players who have formed the company. Maybe a number of people has formed the company, and the firms and the corporates involved in the private company is a closely held private affair. That's why the government has this intention of regulating the private company in a less manner. And in the public company, it is presumed that it is a public company and the public funds are involved. That's why the government comes into picture, and it regulates the company to a greater extent. All the provisions of the Companies Act are applicable much on the public company rather than the private company, and the private companies are given a lot of exemptions from a number of provisions of the Companies Act. The single ideology between giving these exemptions is just that in the private company only private funds are involved, and the stake of the society at large is not involved. Rather, in the public company, on the other hand, in a public company, the public stake is involved to a larger extent. That's why the government is regulating such company. Now, ethics just wanted to give an idea about one hand, the government is regulating us, it's governing us. But if I want to do something, if I just go by this 80-10-80 theory, what is better? I am regulating myself or someone else is regulating my actions? The person who is in charge of its own actions and who can regulate its action in a very proper manner is the person himself. So it is always said that the corporate corporates should have an intellect of being ethical. They should move to an ethical side of the scenario, present scenario right now, and uh, rather than hampering the society or hampering the image of the society, it should protect the interest of the society. It should protect the interest of the shareholders. It should protect the interest of the stakeholders involved in the business. So this is basically the idea behind business ethics and the need of business ethics in today's scenario. So I would like to summarize what all points we have talked today in our presentation. Firstly, we have discussed about what do we understand by ethics. Ethics is nothing but it is a moral consciousness which drives the inner consciousness, the inner voice which drives me to do something right and do something wrong. That inner consciousness, my belief system, and my moral values that are developed over a period of time, whether they are developed by the family, whether they are developed by the people I work with, whether they are developed by the friends, they evolved from since my birth. They evolved over a period of time, and they have formed a character of mine, an ethical character of mine. That ethical character can be in a negative side or in a positive side. But being ethical, you are expected to follow certain standards, certain principles while you are conducting yourself. Now, this and the whole idea behind business ethics, the right way, the right proper thing, what is the right thing, what is the right way, that is again decided by whom? That is again decided by the people, by the society, the people who have constituted the society. It is conducted, it is regulated by them. Then, just wanted to end this presentation with a simple example to make you more clear about what ethics is. Suppose you are going on a road. You have visited a big restaurant. You have gone to Haldiram's and you have purchased something for 400 rupees. You have given 500 rupees to the cashier, and cashier by mistake gives back 1600 rupees, mistaking the 500 rupees to be a 2000 rupee note. At that moment, you just thought for a while that it's such a big restaurant. It won't matter if I just take this money with me. It's just a big restaurant. It won't affect it much. But when you go to a street hawker and you buy something for 70 rupees. You gave him 100 rupees. And he gave you back change for 430, presuming the 100 rupee note to be 500 rupee note. At that moment of time, the inner consciousness of yours says, no, you should return this money to this poor fellow, as this entire 500 rupees would have been his total daily earning. Just analyze these two situations. One is you are in the Haldirams and other is with the hawker. Can you say yourself to be ethical? Have you conducted yourself in an ethical way? To be honest, no. What you have done with the hawker is perfectly fine, but what we have done with the Haldirams is not. Because under ethics, you will be supposed to be ethical only if you are doing certain thing in such a manner. You are conducting yourself in such a manner to do the right thing. You have the urge, you have a self-driven urge to do the right thing, even if no one's watching. Irrespective of the facts, irrespective of the situations, you are doing the right thing, irrespective of what all is happening around you. That is business ethics. So that was just an introduction about business ethics. Thank you very much.